When you close your eyes, you're in another reality. But when you open your eyes, you're back in this one. The thing is, though, that your eyes don't want to stay open. You imagine that you're living your life, and you're living your life in a bubble, and within that bubble is your reality. And then someone comes along and without any warning pops the bubble. And suddenly information, concepts are pouring into your conscious mind in a way that's so massive, it's like pressing too many keys on a computer. The computer freezes, I can't process this information, it's too much. Most people live in a prison called fearing what other people think. And when you fear or you're concerned about what other people think, you're not you anymore. You are what you are expected to be by those you don't want abuse or criticism or ridicule from. So you conform to the norm so that you're not called crazy, you're not laughed at in the street or laughed at on social media and all that stuff. And you have gone. You're now a construct of someone else's version of what you should be. And most people are not saying what they really believe. They're not living their life as they really want to live it because they fear what will other people think? What will the people at work think? The people down the bar? What will my mother say? And all this stuff. But when you are faced with the scale of ridicule that I went through, you've got a choice. You can end up in the corner, shaking, or just withdraw from the world, or you can come out honed in the fire. You're the one with the power. The power is not with the abuser, it's with the receiver in how they receive the abuse. And you can say, you can fall apart because they're saying this stuff about me. And that's a reaction to it that's going to destroy you. If I consider consequences of doing something that I believe to be right, I'm actually considering compromising doing what I believe to be right because I fear consequences for me. No, you do what you believe to be right. Consequences are a prison. The world is controlled by basically a spider's web. A spider's web is a brilliant symbol of it. You've got the spider at the center of the web, which is deep in the shadows. You won't see them in the public arena. And then the strands in the web immediately around the spider are the most exclusive secret societies. And so these cusp organizations are there to take the agenda for the world from the spider through the secret societies, and these cusp organizations gather together politicians, the bankers, journalists, corporations, all these people. And they basically are the conduit to take the spider agenda and to play it out into the public arena. So then you come through the cusp organizations and you hit the mainstream arena. You have governments, you have government agencies, you have banking system. And in the arena of the scene, everything seems to be happening randomly. People are making decisions, and this is where you see the pixels. And then you see the patterns and you see the picture. So basically, in the world of the scene, everything seems random and unconnected. But if you go to the spider level, they're all controlled by the same force and they're all working to the same end. From cradle to grave, a human life is a download of perceptual programming. That's what it is. The education system is simply downloading to the young population a perception of reality. And they test you, if you've accepted that level of reality, nature of reality, by exams. And then the media is pounding out the same version of reality. It's based on what I call the postage stamp consensus. This is a narrow band of information, sense of the possible, what is known as the normal. And if you stay on the normal, then you're normal. You're credible, you are. Anyone that steps off the postage stamp wanting to explore other areas, and you start to realize that what the system does, it doesn't want us to understand the true nature of the I. Doesn't. Because once you know the true nature of the I, what I am is consciousness. What I am is awareness. Forget the body, forget form. I am a state of being aware. And I can choose to be that aware. I'm just little me, I have no power, what can I do? Or we can choose to be as aware as we want to be. That what the system wants us to do is to self-identify with the body. It wants us to self-identify the I with my name, my race, and all these labels that people self-identify with. They are not who we are, they are what we are experiencing. And what's experiencing those lives, those situations, those labels, is the true I, consciousness. Now, if you self-identify with the labels, and by the way, of course, the labels, and it's systematic, are getting subdivided and subdivided and subdivided. I mean, how long is that bloody list of letters going to get? Where people are so obsessed with their self-identity, they have to list labels that describe their self-identity. So when you self-identify with your label, as opposed to that being your experience, your sense of self and possibility contract to that label. But when you self-identify with being the consciousness that's having the experience, the consciousness that moves on at what we call death, then your sense of self, your sense of power, your sense of potential absolutely explodes. And life becomes much more of an adventure. You chill more because you know it's just a temporary experience on the road of forever. Everything that we think, every thought, every emotional state is broadcast as a frequency. Everything's a frequency. Hate is a certain frequency. Love is a very different frequency. So if you're in a perception of I'm little me, I have no power, then you are broadcasting, operating on a very narrow band and low frequency band of perception. And that is interacting with the cosmic Wi-Fi, the quantum field of possibility and probability within that band. And you will create a feedback loop in which you will experience your own perceptions. Little me perception becomes little me life. When you see yourself in very limited label terms, you are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy through this feedback loop where your perceptions are interacting with possibility and creating an experience of your perceptions. When you break out of that, you self-identify the I to be the consciousness that's having the experience. The very fact that you have expanded your self-identity to infinite consciousness having an experience, that very expansion of self-identity creates an expansion of consciousness. And now you are interacting with the quantum field of possibility and probability, cosmic Wi-Fi as I call it, in a much more expanded way and on a much more high frequency. And that means that you are able to tap in to a vastly greater scale of possibility and probability. And your life starts to change. What is happening in the world compared with what people think is happening because of this perceptual programming from cradle to grave is so dramatically different that it's its biggest defense mechanism. Because you say to people, this is what's happening. Even if you produce the evidence, they'll go, nah, it's mad, mate. And I'd say this to people, please don't confuse what is happening with your perception of what could be happening. Because what you believe is possibility. It's only what you believe is possible. The last thing this cabal wants is the human race to love itself and love each other. It wants conflict, it wants division. Because when there's a few of you and you want to control the many, you have to divide and rule the many. You can't control a unified force. You can only control a divided force. So what they do is they create these fault lines, and indeed all these subdivisions of self-identity are creating more and more fault lines. All these divisions, the more self-identity groups you have, the more divisions potentially you have. And so they don't want people coming together. I'm saying we're all points of attention within one infinite state of awareness. And so you are a state of awareness having an experience that is different to mine, but ultimately we are the same aspects of the same consciousness. And then when you come to that level, hey, guys, we're all one. So when we look at the world, everyone seems to be apart from everyone else and different. But when you get to the level of consciousness beyond the body, then it's one flow of consciousness with different points of attention in it.